Another factor that needs to be considered when painting is brush load. Brush load refers to how much paint your brush is holding. If a brush is really loaded, it means it's holding the maximum amount of paint that it can hold. The more paint it holds, the farther the stroke will go, and often the darker the paint layer will be. You can get a moderately loaded brush simply by wiping a little of the paint off on the side of your palette. This will give you a fair amount of paint in your brush, but not as much as one that's fully loaded. A moderate load will result in a thinner layer and a lighter tone. Now, a slightly loaded brush means that it's only holding a little paint, and therefore a stroke won't go as far. It'll lay the paint down a little thinner, and actually it's the brush load that you would want to use if you were doing dry brushing or perhaps certain scumbling techniques. You may have noticed that I touched my brush to a piece of dry paper towel before applying it to the surface. Paper towel is very absorbent, so just touching it with a loaded brush will remove a fair amount of the paint. The longer you hold it there, the more paint will be removed and the drier your brush will be. If you work in oils, your brush load will depend on how much paint you pick up. However, if it's very thin, you can still use a towel or a paper towel to absorb some of the excess paint. An interesting note, the Impressionist masters used to let their paint sit on spare rags in order to remove some of the oil, and thus result in a drier form of oil paint.